Building upon the previous module's discussion of homeowners associations, CC&Rs, and liens, this section focuses on another fundamental concept in Arizona real estate: easements and encumbrances. These legal interests do not necessarily transfer ownership of property, but they affect how it can be used, accessed, or conveyed. Understanding these concepts is vital for real estate professionals because easements and other encumbrances appear frequently in title reports, surveys, and property disclosures. Misunderstanding or overlooking them can result in disputes, loss of access rights, or even lawsuits. An encumbrance is any claim, right, lien, or liability that affects or limits the ownership or use of real property. Encumbrances can be either financial, such as a mortgage lien or tax lien, or non-financial, such as easements, deed restrictions, or encroachments. The key feature of an encumbrance is that it remains attached to the property regardless of ownership changes. It runs with the land. An easement is a specific type of non-financial encumbrance that gives one party the legal right to use another person's property for a particular purpose. Easements do not transfer ownership but grant limited use rights. For example, a utility company may have an easement to access and maintain underground power lines running through a homeowner's backyard. Even if the property is sold, the utility easement remains in place. Easements are generally categorized into two main types: easements appurtenant and easements in gross. An easement appurtenant involves two properties: a dominant estate, which benefits from the easement, and a servient estate, which bears the burden. For instance, if Lot A has a driveway crossing Lot B to reach a public road, Lot A is the dominant estate, and Lot B is the servient estate. Easements appurtenant automatically transfer with ownership of the dominant estate, meaning new owners continue to benefit from the access. In contrast, an easement in gross benefits an individual or organization rather than another parcel of land. Common examples include easements for utility companies, pipelines, or railroads. These easements typically belong to a specific entity and do not automatically transfer with the sale of land. Other important terms associated with easements and encumbrances include license, encroachment, and right-of-way. A license grants permission for temporary use of land without creating a permanent legal interest. For example, allowing a neighbor to use a private road during construction constitutes a license, which can be revoked at any time. An encroachment occurs when a structure extends beyond property boundaries, such as a fence or garage that crosses onto a neighbor's lot. A right-of-way is a type of easement, allowing passage across land for roads or utility corridors. Arizona law recognizes several ways easements can be created: express grant, established by a written agreement or deed, recorded in the county recorder's office; implication, arising from prior use of the land when it was under common ownership; necessity, created when a property is landlocked and requires access to a public road, as supported by ARS Workers 12/1202. Prescription, similar to adverse possession, it arises through continuous, open, and hostile use of another's property for a specific period, generally 10 years under Arizona law. Condemnation, established through eminent domain, allowing government entities or utilities to use land for public purposes, such as highways or power lines. For example, consider a ranch owner who sells off part of their property, leaving the retained portion landlocked. Arizona courts would likely recognize an easement by necessity, allowing the owner access to the main road through the sold parcel. Similarly, if a neighbor has continuously used a dirt road across another's land for over a decade without permission, they may gain a prescriptive easement through long-term use. Easements are enforceable interests and can be terminated only under specific conditions, such as merger, when both properties come under one owner; release by written agreement; abandonment, or expiration, if they were granted for a limited duration. A key Arizona case illustrating easement disputes is LaRue v. Kosich, 1997, where the court upheld a prescriptive easement claim after finding that the plaintiffs had used a roadway openly and continuously for more than 10 years. The ruling reaffirmed Arizona's principle that property owners must monitor their land use and enforce boundaries to avoid inadvertently granting permanent rights to others. Easements are also commonly disclosed during the title examination process. Title companies include recorded easements on the preliminary title report so buyers understand any existing rights affecting the property. Real estate licensees must ensure that their clients are aware of all easements listed on the title commitment before closing. Discussion: why are easements considered encumbrances, even though they do not transfer ownership? Answer: because they restrict how a property can be used or developed and remain attached to the land regardless of ownership changes. What is the difference between an easement appurtenant and an easement in gross? Answer: an easement appurtenant benefits another parcel of land, while an easement in gross benefits an individual or company rather than a property. How can an easement by necessity arise under Arizona law? Answer: when a property becomes landlocked after a division of land, and access is required to reach a public road. Review summary: easements and other encumbrances are legal interests that affect real property without transferring ownership. An encumbrance may be financial, such as a lien, or non-financial, such as an easement or restriction. Easements grant the right to use land for specific purposes and can be created through express grant, necessity, prescription, or eminent domain. Arizona law ensures these interests are recorded to provide public notice and maintain clear title. Real estate professionals must identify, explain, and disclose all easements during transactions to protect their clients and uphold legal compliance. Understanding these concepts allows licensees to navigate issues involving access, boundaries, and property use more effectively.